Peace, family. How you doing? It's Mr. R2 here at Consistency is Currency. Let me put the caption up. Consistency is Currency, your morning podcast of choice. And I am your host, Mr. R2. And I just want to say good morning to you. It's October the 20th. It is a Thursday. This week has been flying by. It's like yesterday was like Tuesday, but it really wasn't. Yesterday was Wednesday. Was it? Is today Wednesday or Tuesday? I think it's Thursday. Correct me if I'm wrong. Trust me, I'm known to be wrong during the days of the week. I think it's Thursday. Am I right? Or is today Tuesday? I don't remember. I don't want to look at my phone right now. But somebody out there in internet land, is today Wednesday or is today Thursday? Today's Thursday? All right, bet. Appreciate it, Miss Scott. Thank you for being here. If you wasn't here today, Miss Scott, I would think that today was Wednesday. I'll be making meetings that I wasn't supposed to be in. I would be all over the place. But hey, I appreciate you for being here. Just being in this space, in this digital space, to where we can build and in dialogue about just being who we are. Peace. Good morning, Miss Myrick. And everybody for here and everybody that's here. You got me. I appreciate it. All right. So again, like always, we're gonna start in gratitude. We're gonna start in peace. We're gonna start in love, light, and energy, and all the other good stuff that people want to say. Good morning, Grand Rising. Whatever you say, where you from? But what I say, where I'm from, and what we're gonna do, we're gonna be talking about influence. So for everybody that's watching in Facebook Space and everyone that's watching YouTube, or you're listening on a podcast distribution of iHeart, Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts. So you don't just have to watch. For those that's watching it live, you don't just have to watch it live. You can go back and listen to all of the other ones that that resonated with you, or the ones that you missed. So what I'm going to do, especially for those that's watching live, I'm going to drop the link just so you can always go back and hear the other episodes of the podcast. I'm gonna do that just for you right now. All right. So as we get ready to learn just a little bit more or a lot more, what I'm gonna drop Spotify. I'm gonna get my Spotify numbers up because my Apple podcast numbers are doing great. Peace. Good morning, Miss Queenie. My Apple numbers are doing phenomenal, but Spotify is not as high as Apple, but whatever. So now we're going to talk about. I'm gonna jump into it. It's already 3 minutes after. Not that it's the minutes is going to change anything, but as you can see, the question that's proposed right there, it says, "Do you think you can influence your outcome, and how?" So that is an open dialogue question. Answer that question in your very own way. There's no wrong answer because it's your influence as well as it's your outcome. Do you feel that you can influence your outcome? And if so, how? How do you think that you can influence your outcome? I'm, I'm, I really want to learn about that. So I'm going to read what your reply is. So if you think you can influence your outcome and how, go ahead and drop that. And then I'm going to read it for those that may be listening on the replay, or those who may be listening to it on the podcast distribution who can't see you drop your comment about or your reply to the question. And I'm going to read it to them. So as they come in, I'm going to read some of them. And then I'm going to go ahead and start with what we're going to be talking about um, today. All right. So again, the question is proposed. The question is out there. Do you think that you can influence your outcome? All right, Miss Scott, you on the roll. All right, Miss Scott says, most definitely by focusing on what I can change and staying positive. Very true. Love that. Appreciate you, Miss Scott. Staying positive is great, and focus is a powerful thing, because I think a lot of time we lose focus, so therefore the outcome is out of focus, and the intent that we had in going into it just becomes null and void. It doesn't even exist anymore because we've lost focus in what our purpose was, what our desire was, and then all that positivity just go completely out of the window because now we're upset. We're crying, we just want to throw stuff, whatever it is, and we lost that positive edge because we didn't allow that influence to change anything that we had for ourselves at that particular moment. So I'm gonna go ahead and jump, so as the other ones come in, I'll look. All right, Miss Queenie says, absolutely, by keeping motivated even when I'm feeling bad. That is great. That is powerful. So you're going to see the word motivated in today's conversation. You'll definitely see or hear focus and positive in today's conversation. So appreciate you, Miss Queenie, as well as you, Miss Tori, as well. So, all right, let's go. All right. So, as you know, we're going to get into the definition of words. And from the definition of words, we're going to either go to an inversion of red over white or white over red. Again, if I say red over white, focus on the words that are only in red. If I say white over red, focus only on the words that are in white. All right, let's go. Definition of influence is the capacity to have an effect on the character, development, or behavior of someone or something, or the effect itself. All right, the capacity of having an effect on the character, development, or behavior of someone or something, or the effect itself. Now, the inversion that I want you to pay attention to is red over white. The capacity to have an effect. The capacity to have an effect. And something that I want to develop and change a little bit, especially for those who definitely come back daily. So when I put out there red over white or white over red, you can begin to expound on that inversion itself. Or if there's something that you see in a definition that you want to put focus on, put your focus on it and drop it inside the comment, because I mean, it's your own influence. That's something that you see that resonated with you that can be effective for you throughout the day or effective for you for a lifetime. All right. Again, the capacity to have an effect, like a capacity, like, do you have it? Do you have it internally? Do you have the room to be effective in what you do? Because you have to have it psychologically, you have to have it emotionally, you have to have it spiritually, you have to have it for yourself before you can ever to become effective for what it is that you're trying to effect. Just like Miss Scott and Miss Queenie has said, she was talking about focus. You have to have the capacity to focus on that thing that you want to focus on. Or you have to have the motivation or the capacity to motivate the influence or to motivate something in order to be effective towards it. So that's having the capacity to do it. So now the second definition of influence is a person or thing with the capacity or power to have an effect on someone or something. Now let's go back. Looking at this, it says the capacity to have an effect. And the inversion on this one is white over red. This one is saying the focus that we're putting, like Miss Scott said, the focus. All right, the focus that we're putting is the power to have an effect. This one says the capacity. This one, we're focusing on the power. Do you have the power to have an effect? That means that, do you have the energy or do you have the wherewithal to have an effect? Because you have to have the capacity to do it, and you have to have the power or the force behind you to do it in order for you to have an effect. Because without that power or the capacity to do it, you're going to find yourself still in the same situation, because there's not going to be any change of outcome because you don't have the capacity or the power to move. Remember back in the day, there was always talks about I can move mountains, or moving of the mountain. The mountain is not moved unless you have the capacity to move it. The mountain won't move unless you have the power to move it. The outcome won't change unless you have the capacity to change it. The outcome will maintain and be the same unless you have the power to change the outcome or to alter the outcome to be at its most effective point. Because we find ourselves affected by the things that we don't do, or the things that we don't give power to, or the things that we don't have the capacity to feel. We become affected by it because we wasn't effective in our power or within our capacity to move those things. And let's go ahead and drop the third definition. So the third definition says the ability or power to inspire or motivate an individual to act in one way or the other. The ability or power to inspire or motivate an individual to act in one way or the other. What do y'all think the inversion is? All right. The inversion on this is white over red. Is the ability to inspire, and just like Queenie said, motivate. The ability to inspire or motivate to act. The first one was the capacity. The second one was the power. And the third one is the ability. Now, ability and capacity is kind of parallel, but we're talking about the ability to inspire, the ability to motivate, to act. Like, we can talk all day, but when we act, we inspire others to act as though it were, even though it wasn't. That is seeing beyond what your own personal eyes or physical eyes can see, and inspiring yourself to keep going, inspiring yourself to stay motivated, inspiring yourself to act on those things. Not being so easily swayed or persuaded to do things knowing that you don't have the ability to do, knowing that that's not your calling, knowing that that is not what you're supposed to be doing, but you inspire yourself to motivate yourself to act based on what the ability and the capacity or the power it is that you have that is buried deep inside of you, that is pulling that out to change the outcome. All I did was take all three definitions and merged it and put it into something that can change or alter how it resonates with you. Because remember, the capacity, the power, and the ability to inspire and motivate to act. Because the outcome won't change unless you act on it. Right? Your outcome will not change unless you act on or inspire yourself to act on changing the outcome. Because your influence, everyone has an influence. But let's talk about to influence the outcome. So before we jump into the deep dive, now the image that you see right here, you have this head with the magnet inside. So I'm gonna tell you my version on this, how I see this, and I want to know how you see it too. So this is how I see this image. It's what you attract mentally, how your thoughts attract certain energies, how your thoughts can alter your perception of things, how your thoughts can influence your outcome. So your input or intake of your thoughts that influence you to say or to do certain things could ultimately change your outcome. That's how I see this. Because what you think is what you attract, right? If what you think is what you attract, then the outcome is based off of what? The input of your thoughts. And the output of your actions is what becomes visible to your outcome. I'm just saying. All right, so what we're gonna do right quick is peace. Good morning, Miss Dice. So what we're gonna do right quick is go into the deep dive. That's always my favorite part, is the deep dive. Peace, good morning. Is the dive. So let's go ahead and dive into it. Now, this is gonna be something that we have to acknowledge, that influence is real. So our ideas about the way the world works is based in the part of our expectations. Our ideas and the way we see the outcome of things is based on how we pair with our expectations, because those expectations color our experiences. So your outcome is based on the colorful input of the influence that you put on your life, or the input or the energy that you attract, that you then superimpose, that you push outward, and how you act. Because remember, we talked about having the ability to inspire to inspire and motivate and to act. So if your expectations color your experiences, so now every time that you act on something, the outcome is only based on what you think. Because our experiences are what? You have good experiences and you have bad experiences. And those good and bad experiences can actually influence our reactions and how we respond to everything that we encounter. Because based on how we perceived it, based on how our thoughts actually influence our steps that we take, how our thoughts actually influence on the decisions that we've made, or the decisions that we're currently making. So do you really think that you can influence your outcome? The answer is 1000% yes. Because the outcome is based off of input, like what's inside of your head. Like, what thoughts do you assume responsibility of? Like, what are you watching, or what type of things are you reading or absorbing to influence your thoughts? Like, if you watch, okay, I'll be a little bit transparent. Like, I was reading, what's that guy name? I forgot the gentleman name. A lot of people go through his teaching courses, and John Maxwell. So I was reading John Maxwell's book, Failing Forward. It didn't hit for me like it hit for a lot of other people. Because failing forward, every time I read everything about failing forward, all I kept seeing in front of my eyes was failing. I get the premise behind the book, but it didn't sit right with me. So I couldn't continue to read it, because the way my mind is wired, it's not about failing, it's about the lessons that you've learned, and the altering of the experiences in order for you to change your outcome. So the influence of what I was reading, I had to change that and just go get another book, because I didn't like to keep hearing the word failing subconsciously inside of my mind. So I had to change that. But when we look at things from this perspective, we have to understand that uh, we also have to use our power of letting go. And I had to let go of the book. I had to let go of the thoughts of failing. Not that failing don't exist, but I don't like to constantly and consistently think about failing. So I had to let that go. But it's how we let go of those self-created traps of expectations that give us more insight and influence of our outcome. So what do you need to let go of? Like, what's influencing you right now that you need to let go in order for you to change your outcome? Because when you begin to understand the power of letting go and letting those expectations change in order for you to influence your outcome, you have to begin to foster open and honest dialogue that we have with ourselves. Like, what do you say to you when it's just you in the room? What do you say to you when it's a conversation that you need to have to yourself? You don't always need to have a conversation with someone, but can you talk to you when you need to speak? If you can't speak to you when you need to speak, how do you have expectations that someone else need to hear what you have to say? You can't even listen to you. So foster open and honest dialogues with yourself. Write those things down if you feel crazy about talking to yourself, or you feel crazy about talking to yourself in the mirror. Write those things down and then read it out loud. Foster those healthy and honest dialogues that you have with yourself, and ensure that you begin to have a clear desired outcome. Just clarify your desired outcome. Write those things down or speak those things out of your mouth into existence. Clarify your desired outcome and conduct a self audit on how you feel when you feel, and or how you see yourself doing these things. Clarify it and audit yourself. Like, okay, bet when I do this thing, I feel this way. So I don't want to have this type of outcome anymore. So I need to influence myself to do something different when I feel this way. Or when I see this thing, it drives me like it totally alters my emotions, or it alters the way that I think. So I need to influence myself to do something different. Take that self audit. There's nothing wrong with a self audit, because you may take somebody else's audit the wrong way and you trying to fight. So do your own self internal audit. Because when we handle our own unproductive emotions and influence, the influence begins to expand our vision of ourselves. Because there are unproductive emotions. Like I said before, fear is not a thought. Fear is an emotional response to the thoughts that you're having or the thoughts that you've had. And that's solely it's your responsibility on how you respond to that thing. And when you respond to that thing, take ownership of your habits and raise your expectations of your desired outcome, and stop expecting the best and hoping for the worst. I never really understood that, or hoping for the best and expecting the worst. I never really understood that. That's just me. I don't like that. Hope for the best and expect the worst. Why should I have to expect the worst? I can acknowledge that there are not always going to be good days and great times, but why do I have to expect them? Now, I can understand that something may happen that may alter my trajectory, but I understand that I also have the capacity, the ability, and the power to have the influence to change my outcome. So I don't have to expect the worst. I can hope for the best and have the capacity to change the outcome if the worst comes. So I don't have to expect the worst. You don't even have to live like that. Because honestly, just be honest with yourself. When the worst comes, you don't have to expect it, but you do have to act. You do have to act. Because remember, in the third definition, it says what? The ability to do what? Inspire, motivate, and act. Are you inspired by yourself? Can you motivate yourself? And when you are inspired and when you motivate and when you begin to act on that thing, don't you know the outcome can change? Don't you know that you can actually assume that responsibility because you have assumed your emotions that you were carrying? And be like, look, I don't want to carry this emotion anymore. I'm going to I'm going to take this emotion and I'm going to put this to the side. I'm going to look at this outcome and say, this is not the outcome that I want to continue to have. And I'm going to inspire myself to change the outcome. Because an expectation that you have can drive your desires, can push your potential, can make room for your gifts and make room for your purpose, and put you in a place, like I always say, can put you in a place of perfect peace, because you have influenced the way that you think, can then ultimately influence your outcome. All right, that's enough. Good morning for all you people that just showing up. Y'all got hall passes today, so it's all right that you tardy. You got hall passes. But go back and listen to the replay, or go ahead and click on the link and you can go listen to the podcast. You can drive and just listen to it all day. What I normally do with the podcast is, once I take this, I convert it into an MP3. I upload it into the podcast distribution. I change the music behind it and I add something else to it, so you can listen to it and drive. But what I want to know right now before I go is, what resonated with you the most? Go ahead and put that inside the chat. What resonated with you the most, so I can learn a little bit more about the way that you think, and then we'll go from there. All right. Miss Manning said she just got off the road. Okay. When you get back on the road, you can go ahead and listen to the podcast, listen to from the MP3. So what I'll do is, once I'm done with the MP3, I'm going to upload it on Facebook and just put it out there. But again, like always, we will start in gratitude and we will walk as we entered in peace. So I thank you for being here. It's Mr. R2 here at Consistency is Currency, your morning podcast choice. Go ahead and put down what resonated with you the most, just so I can learn just a little bit about how you think. Y'all be blessed. Peace.